I suppose what must come first in any story of my life is an account of my mother. She was and remains one of the most important people I have ever known. She died of lung cancer when I was 27, and even in death, she was magnificent. Her essence was imprinted on me from the start. I know this is true of all mothers and their children, but I was coated in her flamboyance and originality just through her choice of name for me. Zandra with a Z. Throughout my life, people have struggled with it. I remember having to stand up at school when we had to say our names alphabetically for the register, and every teacher I ever had would tell me I'd made it up. I'd have to tell them time and again that no, it was my real name. I found it terribly embarrassing. Why did she spell it with a Z? My mother's only explanation was that she wanted to call me Zandra with an X, but my grandmother, a straight-talking Cockney, said no one would know how to pronounce it, so I became Zandra with a Z instead. My great-grandmother was called Zilpa, so there is a tradition of unusual names in my family. Zilpa is actually the Hebrew word for frailty, and we've researched our family tree to see if we have Jewish ancestry, but can't find any evidence of it. My first memory of Mummy is unforgettable. I remember her holding me up to the stars, watching the doodlebugs flying overhead en route to London. Even the way she gave birth to me was dramatic. Her waters broke during an air raid, so she and my father left the house and walked down the hill to the hospital to have me. Of course, when you're remembering things so early in life, your mind can't be trusted. Photos and other people's memories often become your own. But one thing I know to be true is that I was born on the 19th of September 1940 in Chatham, Kent, during the Second World War. As a Royal Naval dockyard town, Chatham was often a target for enemy bombers. The story goes that I inconveniently decided to enter the world on an evening when bombs were coming down thick and fast. My parents were safely installed at our house at 288 Chatham Hill when my mother went into labour. She waited until her contractions were unbearable before asking my father to call a taxi. But of course, no one wanted to brave the streets during an air raid, so they were forced to walk 2 miles down Chatham Hill to the local hospital. The noise of the doodlebugs was deafening, the pitch of the whistling bombs increasing as they approached the ground. No one forgets those sounds, I imagine. They had to duck to avoid the shrapnel shells that kept exploding in the sky around them, and one plane flew so low my father can even remember seeing the pilot. Anyone who saw them from their taped-up windows must have thought they were mad. A breathless couple moving as quickly as they could amid falling bombs, one desperately trying not to give birth. By the time they got to the hospital, my mother had lost both her shoes, which shows you how fast they were trying to run. I can't imagine that experience scared her much. She was so resolute. I was born a few hours later. Whenever either parent recounted this story during my childhood, it was with great humour and jolliness, in which I was jokingly reprimanded for my poor timing, rather than as a terrifying near-death experience. That sort of stoic attitude was typical of the time. How else would anyone have functioned if they'd processed the trauma they'd all lived through? My mother's father, my grandfather Harry Twigg, died before I was born. He was from Stepney Green in East London, a true Cockney. Until recently I had it in my mind that he was a colonel in the army, but my sister told me that he was actually much lower in the ranks, a sergeant. It's funny, the lies we tell ourselves to make our worlds feel more exciting. I don't know how he met my grandmother, Beatrice Elam, but she was from Haggerston in East London, so they didn't grow up far from each other. I do know that they got married in South Africa because he was fighting in the Boer War out there. He was stationed in various places with the army, which was how they ended up in Chatham, a naval and army town. He was a Freemason, and when he died, they said he owed them a lot of money.